We're live streaming. Market vitals, the levels you need to triage the market. Doing a lot of triaging. Matt, good morning.
Good morning, Bob. How are you?
Just peachy. I'm peachy this morning. We got the sun. Finally, right? It's been the cloudiest January, first week of February I can remember here in Bend, Oregon. Not a lot of vitamin D available, which is it's no bueno. It's no bueno.
No bueno.
I gotta tell you, no bueno. There we go, Matt. Let me share right away. Coming out of the hop. Johnny Kessler 1000. I know who that guy is. He shared this. Look, I got notifications and messages popping up. Man narrowly escapes peace of mind with well-timed Twitter visit. We were talking on the way in, and Matt was telling me that I disappear, and I do. I have to disappear from this fucked up world because it is so toxic. The world that we live in. I need to, and one thing that I haven't done, Matt.
But that's why I reach out to you so we can do something and versus, the toxicity.
I can't deal. Matt, I haven't watched the Grammys in at least a decade or more, and I was never more happy that I didn't when this is the offering. I don't know. Like devil worship, let's make devil worshiping great again. Is that the deal? I don't know. The best part of it was after the full-on devil worshiping is this presented by Pfizer. Look at the burning hell of you don't get to make that up. That's just what it is. I didn't make this up.
Right.
That's what it is. It's unreal. And then so we could get to some price discovery right away. We talked about it on the way in, Matt. Warner Brothers Music. This is how we flow. This is how flow works, right? You see something, is there some price that we could trade on this? And then we bring it up and look at it. So let's do it.
Yeah, Warner Brothers, I think, was taken private back at the end of the last collapse, which makes sense, right? And then they took it public right before COVID started. So you'll have to bear with me. My internet is still working on last Thursday speed.
It did this earlier.
Yeah.
Because we're going to come back to this chart.
Yeah,
We don't want to talk about this.
Well, this one fades away, but this is the one nobody's talking about. But the dollar, we talked about it here, and it shot to the point of control on last Thursday, and I said that low to high was interesting, but we'll get back to that in a moment as Warner finally starts coming up. But
you got hamsters on a wheel.
I'm telling you, and that's about the level of market interest that I have today is this speed, because we are inside. Everything is just, we made a new low on the SPOOs down there to 41.05, and then they trapped them and ran it up to 41.35. But 30 points is not a big range in the SPOOs, Bob. So you got to kind of take it easy. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to help you here today. So
Warner Brothers Music, or was this just a regular Warner Brothers?
Yeah, this was Warner Brothers.
Shit.
It's telling me to reconnect, blah, blah, blah. So now trading used to having problems. It's WMG. Now it's coming up as I reconnect again. But yeah, this thing basically traded until 2010, 11, and then they took it public, and now it's private, or took it private. Now it's public again. And so it went from here, this is July of 01 until here. And this was July of 11, it says here. So I don't know. I don't know what happened. It looks like it just went public. Private to public, and it's really doesn't do much. 18 point, almost a $19 billion market cap, 1.73% dividend. It's been as high as $50, trading around 20. What did I say? 2036. So,
right on.
I don't know, dude. Just looks like a dying, another life as a supposed dinosaur to me. But
I go to Warner Brothers, not the music group, the Looney Tunes, which was evident last night. Let's talk Looney Tunes.
Yeah, let me see if I can get it up. That's WBD is the symbol, and WBD, Warner Brothers Discovery, kind of the same thing. This thing spiked all the way to, during COVID, because everybody, all they did is watch TV, right? That was the sales pitch, at least. So it went from nothing, trading here at $17 all the way up to 78, and then reversed in half all the way back down to the 8s. So it definitely took out the COVID lows, and now it's trying to find a bottom. Again, $40 billion market cap for this entertainment behemoth. But again, it looks like dead money to me. But
well, does it pay a dividend? It does. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Nope.
It doesn't pay a dividend. Like, you get with the times already. You got to pay a dividend.
Yeah.
For Matt, it looked like it was bracketed before COVID. It looks like it's bracketed again. I'm not sure it can make it to the.
Yeah, it's kind of that 8 to 18, right? The $10 range, and you're right at the top end of it. So again, I wouldn't be chasing it here, and I wouldn't be doing much of it. I wouldn't be selling it either. It's just too dangerous. Right. And this could become a meme stock overnight. All they got to do is something like this. Just
Warner Brothers. Exactly.
What's up, Doc?
Wow, I fucking nailed it.
Nailed it.
I think I watched a few cartoons on my Saturdays back in the day. Man, let me share. I'm going to share a couple other things here. Because this is breaking news here. Look at this one. Strongest earthquake in 40 years in Western New York. Like, Buffalo isn't shitty enough in Buffalo in February. And now you got to worry about plates falling off walls. And I read other places that this was the strongest earthquake ever recorded. I'm not sure how well the Indians did on recording earthquakes. Big shake, I'm sure. I mean, it's brutal what you see in Turkey, like the buildings just coming down to the ground.
Yeah, cinder block buildings. I mean, cinder block buildings, they're galore. So it's not going to be pretty.
It for sure has been really quiet. And the one guy that you shared, and I don't have this in front of me, the Canadian dude. It seems like what he is saying is this is not the end of it. That there's going to be some big shaking going on.
He's calling for warning to Italy the next 6 days. So central boot is what he's calling.
And I guess the guys have been fairly good at predicting.
He was spot on in this one. Spot on.
And then
he said 7-8 Turkey yesterday or something. I mean, he was right on it.
Crazy. Let's not forget.
And it all has to do with planetary alignment and math also. So I don't know.
Matt, let's retweet this one out here. The best Super Bowl menu item for sure is going to be this Cajun shrimp. I'm not sure if you've ever had the Cajun shrimp from the Shrimp Mojo bunch of TV. Let me pump it one more time. Go to Amazon.com and buy some Cajun shrimp. Matt, the Onion getting back in the game and killing it. The Onion really got overtaken by the Babylon Bee, right? Yeah. But they're fighting back, and I thought this was awesome. Victoria's Secret releases sexy black lace sleep apnea mask. Oh, nothing sexier than the old apnea mask on.
But that gives us an opportunity once again, Bob. It gives us an opportunity to look at price discovery. So why don't you relinquish? And
yes, let me relinquish.
I will throw up a little Visco. Remember, this used to be limited. Maybe they should just call it Jeffrey Epstein's Playground. No. They should maybe rename it. What?
Very balanced, Matthew. Very balanced.
Well, but again, this thing just started trading again, in 21. So they buried it, private to public again, and now it's trading again. But very tight, doesn't pay a dividend. $3.6 billion market cap. Again, only been trading now for less than 2 years. Below the point of control, lifetime high 75, lifetime low recently last summer, right around $28. So again, if you want to put your money into MeUndies, might be a better investment than Visco, Victoria's Secret.
Bingy, bingy. All right, Matt, let's go back to the dollar. One thing that I just told you, I watched a Brian Rose interview with Rich Dad, Poor Dad author. Highly recommend Brian Rose as an interview. Aside from Rogan, I think he's my second favorite interviewer. He's got great guests, and he tries to keep the guests at people that are really trying to push the envelope on transformation. Anyway, and Robert was talking about, he did a great analogy. He held up a 1964 quarter, right? That's silver, and it's a quarter, and then he holds up a $5 bill, right? And he's like, this quarter is worth $5 because this $5 is going to be worthless. We've talked about this thread before.
Well, anything before 1964, half of 1964, because I used to know this because I collected them, is all silver on those quarters and nickels.
Right.
So
yeah. And so
you need to explain that to people, what he means by that.
Yeah. So it was a silver quarter, and it's worth $5 now because the debasement of fiat currencies and the ability just to print.
Yeah.
And you backdrop that with Marty Armstrong saying that the dollar actually is going to, and you've said this too, as these things start to collapse, the dollar actually goes up in value before its ultimate demise. And we might be talking a decade. We might, who knows what this timeline is.
Yeah, plus or minus. I do think it's right around a decade from here to 2032. Yeah. But here's the type of moves you can get. And we talked about this. We said buy the 2-year, post Fed. When that thing collapsed down, it was $4, got down to $3.96. Look at that thing. Today it's $4.38, the high. I don't know about you, but I just made you 10% in a week if you listened to me last week.
Hey, and again, I think what we talked about on the way in was that these equities are shrugging off this dollar move right now.
But you need to look at the scope of this. Like, people know.
Yeah.
Like the smart money is already on board, and by the time CNBC starts talking about this, that'll be the time they're selling into it. So it's probably early still, but any dips you can get in here back to 415 or so, load it up. If you didn't buy it at 4, it's 438 today. That's 10%. Oh my gosh, is that a huge move in rates? And again, all that, and the equities still haven't taken off what they, they're sitting up at the highs still. I mean,
yes.
we're only 70 off the highs, which is not even 2%. So, they could not blow them out over 42.10 there. And now everybody is on board and bullish because the Fed's going to start cutting now. Well, they thought that last time.
Things that make me laugh.
Right. I mean, it just goes over and over again. But the bonds, let's try to take a quick look here if I can.
Yeah, we got to get your hamster with the bonds and then back to the dollar. And
I think my puppy might be eating the cord. I'm just guess, but my cord's just it's clinging to a fray at this point. But the bonds peaked, 132, and today hit a new low. That's a $4 move, and that's significant. Again, these are not small moves. And I just want to point out that when you start looking at a 1-month chart, again, we didn't take out the highs at 133, and the 1-month low is somewhere here 126, 125. I don't know. I mean, so you're below point of control on the month. This looks very bearish to me, which is not good for interest rates. They're not going lower, right? They're not going lower. And again,
I don't like this bond chart at all. It is fully flipped on the 4-hour to negative territory and negative slope. And, I keep coming back to telling people how the story, especially in a small market like the hogs, would seem to be the most important, like the inside information would seem to be the most important. And it was a great lesson to learn. The guys that had the best information, you know what, sometimes they got carried out on a stretcher because the market can stay disconnected from reality longer than any one player can stay solvent in most cases. And you got to respect the slope of the standard deviation modeling, and you got to respect these profiles when they start to break down.
Yeah.
So,
and I honestly think like we're at some key levels. You know, let's just look at the NASDAQ from a perspective, a little broader perspective, a month. You know, going back to the first of the year. Let's do that. And again, huge moves. I mean, you've had a 20% move from these lows to these highs. I mean, that's more than 20%, 10.75 up to almost 13,000. So huge moves, Bob. And now we're just biding time, you know, from the blow-offs, the two blow-offs that we had last week, post-Fed. And I don't know what's, you know, again, we're just holding on here, 12,450 or so. Once that goes, it'll whoosh quickly down here to 12,2. Kind of a key number for me is more like 225. 225 should be your go, no go right now. And we're not even there, but we're above it. So I would not be really bullish here. I just don't, I mean, there's no news this week. It's a really quiet week. I think Powell's speaking somewhere tomorrow and maybe again Wednesday. So we could have some reaction. I still think the big news is going to come next Tuesday on the Valentine's Day massacre. They're going to be calling it.
Early. He comes out early.
Well, I mean, I might as well do it because I can see the headlines, and I think we're going to have a higher CPI, regardless of the finagle that goes into these numbers. I've got a gut feeling. I've got a feeling, and you know, we've got the Biden. Isn't the Biden speech today? Tomorrow is the State of the Disunion today, or is it next week?
Oh my God!
I don't care because that will be brought to you by Pfizer and the devil, and I won't be watching that either. So,
bingo. All right, man. It's a Monday. Super Bowl. I got to tell you, the more I look at it, just feel only, Matt. Feel only. I think I still don't know. That's what I think. My feel is, I did see this that. The Eagles again came into the season at a 25-1 odds to win the Super Bowl, the longest in a long time. And the last time was 2017, again, when the Eagles won the Super Bowl and they were 25-1.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
fly, Eagles, fly, huh? That's what you're going to go with.
You know, the hardest thing about that reality will be Kramer. That's my hardest part. Sometimes I drink the Haterade, man. I don't like to do it, but sometimes I do chug a whole thing of Haterade. And
yeah,
especially when it comes to sports. You know, it's like, yeah. So I'd rather see KC win it, tell you the truth.
I'm indifferent. I don't love, hate either of them. I'm really just kind of, but that's kind of NFL for me. I'm not that excited about it to begin with.
Well, again, too, Matt, it's like how much attention can you give to something? Because attention is all you have, like, and it can't be in two different places. I saw a great study about multitasking, and like it's a fallacy. You cannot have your concentration on more than one thing at one time. You just can't.
Right.
So, what are you going to give your attention to? But you can
understand correlations typically, and non-correlated typically, and that hopefully can help you in some complex situations, and that's kind of what we're talking about here with the dollar and gold, or kind of and the dollar, gold, obviously the euro. Those things are the only things kind of moving right now. And the bonds are down, but they're not down. It's not like they're getting slaughtered and the equities are up here, but the equities really haven't come off. I mean, 12.9 on the NASDAQ, or 42.10, and we're at what, 41.20. So we're only off 2% on either of the main indices in the US. And we're off a little bit more, and we're up a way more on the dollar, and we're off a lot more on the gold, in the gold chart. So again, I think liquidity, the fact that we've been in this BTFD now this isn't just a January rally. I mean, we've been rallying since last June when we first traded 10.5.
Right.
So I bring this up because I think it's late. everybody's like, well, we've only been rallying for 3 weeks or 4 weeks. I'm like, not really. I mean, we saw those lows in January. And so, yeah, we're testing kind of another lower high here, but the longer term charts still are very bearish for if you look at a year. Nothing has changed there. But the long term are still bullish, right? Like we've talked about.
Yes. We're in the flux right now.
So like the battle, like I've, again, my, thoughts are that this market could see lower, maybe lower lows than last year, maybe 3,200. But I also don't see us. I'm not one of these people that's calling for the end of the world and a crash in equities. I actually think whenever that next sell comes, then it's 10 to 20%. So we go from 4,200 down 15%. I mean, 15% is only 600 points, which gets you to 3,500, right?
Yeah, Matt, I had this thought this weekend is that everybody was like, the Fed can't keep doing this. And my thought was, well, Japan's been doing it for 30 years.
Yeah, right.
Well, are you going to time this ultimate debacle of these monetary systems? Because it seems like the Japanese have been able to kick the can down the road. And let's face it, Japan is a giant industrial nation. So that's the reason why. We're still a pretty big industrial nation. I don't care what we still manufacture stuff here. We still grow stuff here. We still
Biden just said last week that we're manufacturing more than any of the last 45 years. I don't know where it comes. All these statements, it's like watching a stump speech every day because there's no stats behind any of it. Who's running the Twitter handle? Jesus, it's hilarious. The lies that there's 100 lies a day that come out of, like, if you were angry about, if you have TDS and are angry at the Orange Man, you should fact check some of these tweets coming out of the existing POTUS account, because they're ridiculous. At least Trump pretty much told the truth.
Wait a second. At least he lied on my behalf. That's what I will stick to.
Okay.
If he was lying, he was lying on my behalf. I believe that. I actually do believe that. Okay. Like, yeah, I hate the guy, but I'd rather have him running the show.
What are your thoughts on, all the letters coming out that, the FTX crew is trying to claw back?
Well, I thought it was interesting that the early thing was they just showed numbers of donations, like on their bottom line, like this is how much we donated. And people were like, well, who did they actually donate to? And right. SBF now has asked everybody that he sent money to give the money back, maybe for his legal defense fund.
Indian giver.
But all of a sudden there's a real clear paper trail on it. So,
well, so that brings up, our favorite and my favorite pet rock. Well, gold has really forever been my favorite pet rock, but this one is equally. I still am hardcore saying that this will trade 12,000 probably this year. I'll take 12,000 before 50,000. So, well,
no, a second. That's not a fair. I will take 36,000 before 12,000. How's that? Mm-hmm. That's a bet.
Perfect. Because I don't think. Yeah, that's what I meant. I didn't.
Well, you said 50. Let's establish it.
No, actually, I said 25.
Well, you almost lost that. You're close to losing.
No, I know. I misspoke. That's why I was like, you're right. I better retrace. No, I said we could get to 25. So we pretty much did 24.3, close enough for government work for me, especially the way this thing trades. And but there's no new money coming into this, by the way. This is, again, it's the biggest. If it was a pet rock before, well, now it's a monster.
I couldn't be more diametrically opposite your view.
It is like a boulder now, because
here's my
only people holding it right now are those that are holders.
You're wrong.
Those are the only people holding it.
You're wrong, but that's okay. And my latest biggest reason for cheering it is Jamie Dimon's continued tack, the same as you, that it has no value. Meanwhile,
Jamie must be watching me. I don't watch him, but I understand what he's doing. But he sees the same thing I do.
No, he doesn't.
He sees this right here, 9,400. It's going there.
I see that too. Believe me, I will always defer to price discovery over opinion on anything. Again, back to hog trading.
Okay, so I'm going to split the difference with you. I'll say 12 before 40. I'm not going to go with 36. That's a dumb number.
I see. That's beautiful. Look how we just, by the way, look how we just did that. He respected the chart.
Yep.
Because you're going to get, if you get 36, you're going to get the high end of that value, which is what?
37.50.
And you lose the bet. Nothing worse than losing the bet. It
Right.
goes to 37.50,
Right.
and you sold the 36s.
I'm almost confident enough to say 9,500. Forget the 12, but I'll just.
Yeah, I actually think that too. If this thing cannot break out here and it retakes out that low, why would it stop there? It would go there.
And again,
in fact, it's got a chance.
Here's
It's got a chance to fill that all the way out, down to whatever. The most pain would be the low end of that value range, which is what, 4,000?
4,000, and I've been saying that will come. Yeah. And then
Alrighty.
I'll be a buyer, and you should be a seller until then. But in the meantime, here's what's interesting, and this is kind of what we talked about. Like, you forgot when, Bitcoin broke last summer when the rest of the market everything was breaking, right? So because we just talked about this, the NASDAQ was down here in June at these lows, just like this broke. And then we had SBF at the end of the year. That's what took it down to that low. But now all we've done is recover to the recover, right? So really all we've done is created a huge $10,000 bracket for the last 8 months.
And believe me.
And again, everybody, so if we get above it and we close above it, 25, 26, we close above it, then we'll go to 36. Fine.
And here's the other thing too, that if you look back on the chart, and I've been involved with this for a while, I've been looking at it, not since the very beginning, but pretty damn close.
Mm-hmm.
This thing can go sideways for a year and a half, 2 years. Like, I think the most money being made right now is the people just selling the wings. Like, until something changes, you're right. There's a $10,000 bracket here that I think is going to be hard to get out of in the near term. The other thing that I'm still not sold on, because
again, Bob, there is no new buyers coming in. Who's buying it? What would drive somebody to come buy it right now? New buyers. Besides holders, that's all that's left.
We shall see.
I mean, it's like AMC. It's like AMC. It's like Best Buy, the holders only, the ones that are going to go to zero with it. They're the only ones left.
I disagree. Anywho, that's me.
Yeah.
What else did I have on the dogs? Does your dog bark when you knock on your own door?
No, Rudy used to, but he was more attuned. This dog, he's got like super stealth ears, and he could be sleeping and then all of a sudden he like steps up and barks. Like when I was watching Yellowstone and all the cattle scenes, he just would wake up and stare at it and start barking because all the cattle were, you could hear the horses and everybody running. And I'm like,
oh, that is great. All right, now let me
if
share.
you can see him right now, we're talking about him. He's like half off his dog pillow. His head's like smashed into the closet, and he can't hear a thing.
Matt, there was a lot of fun with the Chinese balloon. This one was particularly good. The Kardashian spy balloon. I thought that one was good. Was good. And then, Matt, I did a little work on. This is a painting that I did. The red balloon. I don't know if you saw the movie A Short, but I thought this was cute. I put the Chinese flag on the red balloon. Everybody's got a sentient Chinese balloon now following them around. Oh yeah, it's called your phone and TikTok.
Right.
Anyway, I thought that was good. No, I didn't want to stop sharing. How
about Jim Boeheim? Let's just talk a little color.
Wait a second. Let me get back to this one here. This one, you remember Erin Brockovich?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she just shared this. Sperm counts have dropped almost 60% since 1973. Following the trajectory we're on, Swan's research suggests sperm counts could reach 0 by 2045. Matt, if sperm counts go to 0, I pretty much think that it's done, the whole human experience. I don't know.
Experiment.
Erin Brockovich sharing.
Well, I guess
whatever it's worth.
I guess Julia Roberts can do a remake in 10 years when she's 70.
Exactly. And then, Matt, let's not forget. Let's get a little good-heartedness here. Was there anything better than watching your kids play sports?
No.
That was so great. I agree. All right, what were you going to talk about? You go now. I interrupted you. Now you don't even remember. See?
Yeah.
I
was talking about Jim Boeheim. He was complaining that because his team gets beat every week and they suck and nobody wants to move to Syracuse. And he's been paying players for 40 years. And now he's upset because everybody legally is paying players. So he's basically saying everybody in the ACC has bought teams except for him now. And I'm like, oh, dude, give me a break. Everybody knows the skeletons in your closet. How much did Carmelo get? How much did, all the kids from Detroit that you rooked from Michigan during the 80s? Give me a break, dude. Shut the F up, Jim Boeheim. You're a loser. Time to go.
Thank you.
But in the same time, Juwan Howard is really he's been a poor coach for Michigan, I got to admit. His son.
It's a great story, right? But the results just aren't there.
No.
You can't. How long do you marry the story before you?
And his son, maybe he's going to follow his son into the NBA and be a coach again there. I don't know. Maybe that's his plan, anyways. But his son is a heck of a player. But I don't know. The team is they at least beat the Buckeyes yesterday for another victory. But they're 13-10, not looking particularly worthy of a NCAA bid. 7. I don't know. There's always 7 or 8 teams in the Big Ten, but they're going to have to. They got 10 games left, and they're going to have to win 5 or 6 out of those, and that's not going to be an easy tact in the Big Ten because you do have the number 1 team, Purdue, in the country, and you got a lot of other good teams there. So,
yeah, it's about that time of year to start paying attention.
Yeah, well, matter of fact, I was watching some games I would normally not watch. Just watching 10 minutes of the Marquette Butler game just to see, number 14 Marquette, what do they look like? Oh, they don't look too bad. So now you got to kind of pick and watch some of these teams in the top 25. You want to start watching and paying attention for the March Madness coming up. And we're only really
we're close. We're getting there.
4 or 5 weeks away. Pebble Beach finishes. Hey, by the way, Pebble Beach finishes today, so nobody got to watch any of that Saturday, Sunday because it was canceled. So
climate change, man.
It must not have been brought. The golf must not have been brought to us by Pfizer, I'm guessing, because otherwise they would have found a way to keep it on.
Earthquakes are now CO2 driven too. I don't know if you read that thread, but it's fact now. Earthquakes driven by CO2.
It's climate change.
It is. It has. It's everything has to be.
It's definitely CERN, but it's not climate change.
Unreal. I'm so offended. That's what we got. All right, Matt. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
What was the other thing I was going to mention about college basketball? A lot of the Big 12 is good this year, which I didn't know. Again, I'm just kind of picking up.
Yeah, it's that time of year to start acclimating yourself for your pool activity.
But Kansas, God, they got beat by Iowa State again. So Kansas is usually the only good team in the Big 12, and there's a bunch of good teams. There's probably a half a dozen of those in the top 20 right now. I think everybody even says Big 12 is the top hoop conference right now between that and the Big 10. Duke and North Carolina played. That was a snoozer. I think Duke won. Both teams are kind of, again, they're not, they all, everybody's got it's new regimes. It's all new coaches that used to play there. Now coaching is what we're dealing with.
Right.
That seems to be the trend, whether it's Michigan, Georgetown, North Carolina, Duke. It's all former players now coaching for these squads, trying to keep the consistency, trying to keep the history. But I think that's tough to do. It's a tough thing to do. Michigan hockey swept the Badgers, two sweeps in a row, by the way. That's big. Penn State, top 10. Wisconsin, again, another top 10 program. So Michigan hockey, all freshmen, but looking good coming into the Frozen Four in April, too.
Let me ask you this question. Are they like freshmen?
Oh, yeah. They're 18-year-olds.
They're 18-year-olds, or are they kids that will try to play the little junior A in Canada and then they're 23?
No. They're 18-year-old. They're like the defenseman that had that 4-pack last week and, the 4 goals. He's number 3 NHL draft pick, but he's 18. His brothers are both in the NHL, the Hughes boys. So, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, because that had been a trajectory for players that were good to skip college, go to junior A where they could play.
Yeah, they don't do
I
that
think till
anymore.
they're 19, and then every team gets a few exemptions, so you could actually play into your early
I think
20s.
I think people realize that going to Michigan, going to these Michigan especially has been a breeding ground for great pro. Like get a degree. Like if you're inclined to study a little bit, go to a great university, have a great experience as a student, right? Play for 1 to 4 years, and then go. It's been you're getting you get to play against real talent and real aggressive talent that wants to win. Half these kids aren't going to, in the Big Ten aren't necessarily going to play in the NHL, but the other half will. So you're playing against guys that you're right there, which just shows you the razor's edge of talent.
Yes.
Like it's
Never
so
more true. Right.
It's so competitive. Matter of fact, the number one NHL, one of the prospects right now, he played for Minnesota last year, and now he plays for the Winterhawks up in Portland.
Right.
That's like the number one guy. So, again, a lot of that guy probably wasn't interested in school. So it depends on I think there's avenues because there's a lot of hockey rockheads, right, that don't give a shit about school, obviously.
Hey, Matt, speaking about the razor thin line, I watched Bull Durham. We shared the baseball movies last week. So right. I rewatched Bull Durham this weekend. Still holds up. I mean, it's a little campy. The acting's a little campy now in retrospect. Right. But the one line that Costner talks about is like the difference between a 250 hitter and a 300 hitter is 25 hits over the season. One a week, one flare, one nubber, one grounder through the hole in the infield. Just one a week. Is the difference. It's amazing when he brought that up and painted that out, how the margin is so thin. Anyways.
Well, I think it's even, again, you talk about golf, it's even more relevant in that game. I mean, geez. These guys act like, they get a triple and they act like their life's over. Well, they could continue going on and probably do okay, right?
Probably. Guaranteed, probably. Everything at marketvitals.io, guaranteed, probably. All right, that's it.
Just finish out because you can they can also get an eagle the next hole. But anyway, so Pebble Beach must be finishing today. I have not, like I said, I don't know. Did you have you picked up any information on that? Are you watching any of it?
I got to tell you, man, I've really tried not to look at anything.
Well, it looks like they finished it, and Justin Rose won. Did they finish it yesterday, or did they actually?
They said they were playing today.
That's what I thought, right?
That's what I thought too.
Today -6. Yeah, they're done though. They did finish. So Justin Rose won Pebble Beach, and a lot of. Then you had, 5 Americans right behind. Then you had a Canadian come in there. They like the windy conditions, but. Heavy on the U.S. When it comes to the, I think out of the top 13, there was probably 11 Americans in there. So tough course, tough track, Pebble and all those.
All right, man, let's as we leave here, let me just spell out some areas in this dollar, DXY dollar index. Got room on the daily up to 104.50. And then obviously the best that they've done on this downdraft, and I'm just talking about rallies was back 5th of January, 6th of January. They made a high of 105.63. So 104.50, 105.63 are areas that they need to hurdle over. And what more importantly for me, they need to hold these gains, and they need to keep the pressure on with a higher high. And I say that because it takes time to change the slope of the standard deviation modeling. And the slope is your best friend and your biggest enemy in standard deviation modeling. Slope is everything. It's like City Hall. Do not fight the slope. And right now it's still negative. That being said, a couple more days here in this area and up towards that 105 level. And we're going to change the slope on the standard deviation modeling. And again, we talk about closes. You got to prove it to me. Closing days, closing weeks, whatever time bracket you're looking at, you got to finish strong or finish weak, depending on where your lean is or what you want to try to do, interact in a market. And key ingredient.
Yeah, and I think that close last week was strong. I mean, even though it wasn't, it was the hammer, right? It was the action on Thursday that I paid most attention to, and then we closed. Really, it was a 2-week high, and then from there we haven't pulled back. I mean, to gap up Sunday and continue running another $1. I mean, these are, and let me just bring this up because let me show this chart because this, like, people had been lulled to sleep. Right. This was not the time to be shorting the dollar again, when everybody was screaming the dollar's going to zero. I was like, and we kept warning people, they're going to shake them out and then they're going to, and then they're going to cram it up your butt, ox. And they did. Look at that. Shook them out. Yeah. 100. All these people, under. 100, 100's going. I'm like, no, it's not going. Who cares? 100 is just it's par. It means, again, it's over. We're going up now. And the next level, like you said, is 105. So when this goes, then we'll be significantly lower already in the S&P. So now's the time when you want to, think about a longer term position in the S&P because it's lagging. It is lagging this maneuver here. And when we take out that 105.50, Bob, it's going to be, off to the show.
To the show. They called me up to the show. All right, Matt, thank you very much. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Lee. Please join us at marketvitals.io. Please retweet this broadcast far and wide. Please go to amazon.com and buy some Shrimp Mojo for your Super Bowl party. We'll be back tomorrow. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Bobby.